are back with you for another week, company free for the first time, I think, in 3.5 weeks, right around then.
Has it been that long?
I think so.
I mean, I don't consider our kids company.
I mean, once they move out of the house and are married, is that not like considered company still?
Yeah, but like her husband didn't come.
So if her husband comes, then it's company?
I feel like it. Yeah, because she just like fell right back into her.
I'm at home.
I'm at home.
Yeah.
Routine.
Which is what we want.
Which is good.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Brad and I are suffering from brain burnout. Yeah. For sure. Both of us debated heavily on whether or not we were going to take a couple weeks off for spring break, but here we are plugging away.
Remember that debate?
Of course you don't. I literally...
A couple weeks off?
Yes.
Never, not one time. You said, yeah, I mean, it's, we could do spring break. I was like, I don't even know what that means. And that was it. That's all you said.
You don't even know what that means?
No.
Okay.
What?
I feel like it's in the words. I mean, you never had spring break I
did, but it was like from school.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, that's clearly what it is. But we're here, is what I'm saying. We're here, and thankfully, so grateful to our good friends, Chris and Jamie from Expedition Marriage, who sent out an email today. And even though we had another topic kind of marinating, if you will, I actually got that email today, and I was like, this is what we need to talk about, because this is something that we've seen quite a bit. And I think it has a lot of impact, and it's kind of a weird thing to think about, but that you can work on your marriage too much. I know it's a weird way to say it, but we're going to dive into what it means. So a lot of times we work with couples in some level of crisis. That's typically who we end up doing one-on-one coaching or reboots. Not always, but typically. And in that, especially when someone is in a place of crisis, they're ready to do whatever it takes, which is awesome and can also be a little daunting and detrimental in some ways.
Yeah.
Do you feel like we went through this or no?
No, I think there's phases that you have to go through.
Okay.
So
explain.
I don't think that we did. Well, I mean, you kind of I was waiting for you to build it up a little more, but you just
so sorry. Listen.
But yes, you can work on your marriage too hard.
Okay.
That's basically what they were saying. And I 100% agree with that, because the examples that we'll give. But, after when I first moved back in and, we started this whole process, I mean, at that point, I don't think you can work on it too much.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, that there's a phase where
I like that distinction.
You have to, for lack of a better term, well, I guess not, but you have to be all in on that, right? So it's like everything is 100% focused tool. on reconciliation, the whole way. And so I think during that time, there's, we had, I don't remember exactly, because there's no way that I'm going to remember all of that. But I know that there was times where we didn't talk about things, and we just kind of had a, quote unquote, normal day or date or whatever. But even during that, you could feel that there was a lot that needed to be done. So I think that there's this phase where you have to just be 100% focused, and we're working as hard as we can on our marriage.
I think as you're talking about that, if I had to dive into what that looked like, if you're talking about kind of a wrecking that really takes place in your marriage, right? It's really like a demolition of your home. If it's that level of a crisis, in the rebuilding process, there is that element of you got to get the walls and the roof up.
Yeah.
And you're going to do whatever it takes to get the walls and the roof up, right? Because you want to be protected from the elements. It's kind of similar, I think, when you're talking about crisis, is it, to a certain level, you have to do all of these things till the walls and the roof are up, and then you can start worrying about the detail work and slowing down your pace a little bit and paying attention to the things that really matter. I think that there is a little bit of a push and pull here one way or the other after, if we're going to stick with the analogy, the walls and roof are up. Either people stop working entirely and they just are like, hey, we're good, and they go back to their same old routine, or they just continue at that pace so relentlessly that it's like exhausting, and you lose the joy in your in being married. You know? It's just like, we talk to so many people and coach so many people and remind them of just the simple pleasure of laughing, and that it's okay to just joke with each other a little bit or laugh again. And if you feel that something is worthy of laughing, like, that's good.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And you don't have to always kind of walk around with that intense heaviness of, we have still so much work to do. So much work, that it's just like, I don't know, just it feels so daunting.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. I know we coached a couple at one point where they were doing coaching sessions with us, weekly counseling sessions, individual counseling sessions, and groups at church on top of that. And I mean, when we had that conversation with them, I'm just like, man, there's only so much input.
Yeah. I mean, you have to figure out the one thing to work on, and then, work on that. And then when that gets better, then go on. And then there's too many, like, I mean, you're in crisis. I guess if we're sticking with crisis, right? You're in crisis, so you're going to do whatever it takes. But then as soon as you're kind of established back into your life, I look at it as, there's people that I'm around that feel like they have to have this, wise, they have to speak, this like speak into your life all the time. Everything's a teaching moment, like, let me just sit here and I'm going to give you this advice or whatever it is. And that's not a bad thing, but it is if it's all the time. I don't want to talk to someone that's going to be, every time I talk to them, they're thinking there's a teaching point here, and I have to impart this wisdom on you.
Right.
And it gets ridiculous. I've been at tables when this is happening, and it's not directed to me, and I'm trying to hide my face because I'm like, okay.
You all know Brad does not hide his face well.
This is not like, like, read the room, because it's not working. The person you're talking to, they're just like, okay. And you're trying to set up this grand thing that's, hopefully you'll be quoted later on it. That's kind of that mentality that I feel. And so when you're working on your marriage, there's this point of deep conversation, constant'y, not check-ins,
repairs,
but bringing things up, and we need to talk this through, and, what'd you do here, and how'd this go? And, all those things. And there's a time for that. But then at a certain point, like, you have to back off on that stuff, because you have to breathe. I wouldn't want to go on a date or wherever, go to dinner or anything like that if I'm like, well, this is just going to be a heavy night again. Like, and we do
see this. We see it over now. Like you mentioned, there's this season, and I think you can't be constantly using this as an excuse to not go into communication. Like the fact that, okay, well, all these other conversations we've had are super serious, but at some point, like, your communication, you want it to have an ebb and flow that says, yeah, we have some serious conversations, and some of it is life-giving, right? Some of it is joy-filled. And when we go on a date, I don't have to imagine that we're going to always come home and feel like worse than when we went out, right? And we had those dates,
or the whole thing of we're going to fix this thing while we're out.
Oh yeah.
And there's going to be this big breakthrough while we're out. And this, this is what's going to happen. And I don't think that ever happened with us. Like there was nothing, we communicated, got information, whatever we needed to do, working on ourselves, talking to each other, whatever it was. And there was deep conversation, but there is also something to be had with just shallow communication. There is, just
that's quite the words to bring.
Well, but if you think about it, like there is a place for that where I don't have to sit here and, be in this heavy place and try to soak in every single word because I need to make sure that, I'm taking this in and then that I answer correctly. Because if I don't answer correctly, like that's it. Like this, it's already not a good date. It's going to get a lot worse. And, just all these things are happening. There is something to be said of just the shallow communication. Like,
we could say lighthearted,
shallow, surface, whatever. But it
sounds better when you say lighthearted versus like, hey, would you like some shallow conversation tonight?
First of all, it would be super weird if someone said that.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I have never said, let's have some lighthearted conversation or no, I just talked to you. Like, but I'm not going to sit there.
Right, but if you ever were like, can we go on a date and have some shallow conversation tonight? I'd be like, okay.
But we've never, that's what I'm saying. A normal person doesn't say what kind of conversation they're going to have. They just have it. Like,
don't you feel like, I think if we're going to go with like a typical, what we typically see in coaching is, people are going into like an evening out, right? And especially if you've gone through something and you've gone through the effort now, this is in any marriage, right? You've gone through the effort now of like, we're going to go on a date and this is meant to be a time where we build connection and we grow in our marriage. And the wife often is the one who's like, I'm going to use this opportunity I finally have you one-on-one. Right. Yeah. And your undivided attention, right? The kids are not here. Work is not, or shouldn't be vying for attention. I'm right here with you. So now I'm finally able to have the conversations that I haven't been able to have with you for the week or within the past couple weeks. And the guy's expectation going out is like, great, I'm finally going to get out with my wife one-on-one, no distractions from the kids, no work distractions. Yeah. I don't have to talk about anything super serious.
No. I just
get to enjoy this.
Setting the mood, like doing all, yes.
And exactly. So they're going in with like this, both of them with a set of expectations of what the evening holds. And then both coming out disappointed because the one person who's brought up the serious conversation, right, doesn't actually get heartfelt responses and or any kind of resolution, and the other person's feeling attacked and then withdraws typically because they're just like, okay, well, I guess this date night's ruined and there's why do I even want to go on a date, and now we're gonna go home and nobody's getting none because everybody's unhappy. And you see that over and over and over, I think, especially when people are in that fix it overload. That's the definition that Chris and Jamie had said, is just there's like that fix it overload thing where, you're trying everything and now you're just burnt out. But
it doesn't get better when you do that.
No.
There's so many, I've given this analogy before, maybe on the podcast, maybe when I've gone to speak, but this whole idea of when you're training someone how to shoot, specifically, like in my experiences, I'll see somebody and they're shooting and there's 20 different things wrong. Like it's all wrong.
It's right? All wrong. Every single thing you're doing.
Yeah. It's just,
Is this how you feel when you've taken me out shooting?
No, I don't train you to shoot. Like we've talked about this. You don't want it. Like
that is not true.
Like I do not. Nope, I'm not. That's not somebody else can, I guess, but
you just have to talk to me in the gentle tone when you're training me to shoot.
I'm not yelling.
You have work voice.
Anyway, and I can't tell that person go through every single thing that's wrong and then
fix it all.
And then go, okay, go ahead, shoot again. Like they might fix 3 things. Maybe. That's a big maybe. It's depending on the actual person themselves. Mm-hmm. But usually there's no way you're just literally telling that person over and over.
But that's what I was gonna say. Even if they did the 3 things right one time, the second time they're back to that same pattern, because it's like you can't physically make that happen all at once and make it a habit.
I've literally, when I've been like language barrier teaching, and I've literally told the translator, I'm like, this is the one thing that he needs to fix right now, and the guy would work on it, and then you'd see it click, and then he'd be able to, like, he was, okay, that thing's done. It's repeatable. He understands what he's doing. He can figure it out. Now we're moving on to the next thing. And then hopefully that, and then the next thing. And some things are quicker to figure out than others, but there's no way I can give someone everything. There's so many examples. Years ago, I got to go to the Gracie Academy, for a couple of weeks. And while I was there, they taught us how to teach. And one thing I loved about their teaching was just that. It was, they demonstrate something at full speed, then they give you like, this is the highest percentage of people get this one thing wrong. And so then they go over that one thing. Mm-hmm. And then they say the other thing that usually people get wrong is this one thing, this other thing. And then they break it down step by step with, he's just grappling, right? Mm-hmm. It's jujitsu. So they break it down step by step with another person. Then they take that other person away. And now it's just this instructor on the ground with no person to do these techniques on. Force. And he's showing like, this is what they get wrong. Right here, this is what you need to focus on. And it was so good because they could have easily, when I was rolling with the Gracies, they could have easily said, there's 100 things wrong with you. Like, this is ridiculous. But
you're out.
Yeah, that wasn't the case at all. It was not that I was great. It was, no, here, fix this one thing. Mm-hmm. And they would actually help you and guide you. Okay.
And it makes repeatable and you get it done. It's such a real world example, because what we have told people over and over again in coaching is like, you have to celebrate the wins along the way. Mm-hmm. So when you have one thing that's done incorrectly and then you work on that one thing, it's like you get little wins all along the way, right? Like, I successfully did something.
This specifically, if you guys know anything about jiu-jitsu, like, these are the people, right? This is the name of this family. It's ridiculous. And I fix this one thing, and then I'm rolling with him, and I do this technique, and in my head I'm like, are you kidding me? I just did this to so-and-so. And then the next minute it's like, of course I let you do that, because
I'm teaching you.
I'm teaching you. It makes you feel great. And then it's like, no.
But it is so powerful to think about that. Is when we allow ourselves to have the wins along the way, or we give the wins, right? We show an element of success along the way, then somebody wants to continue to show up, to do the things, right? To go on the next date, to have the next conversation. Yeah. It's like, okay, I need to celebrate the win with you a little bit. Like, I need to celebrate the fact that we have some element of momentum forward, and this isn't just in crisis. Like, this is in any aspect of marriage, that you need to celebrate the wins.
I think we've told people that they should have a weekly check-in, and I 100% agree with that. And also, like, schedule this time. This is the time we're going to have these conversations, right? These deep conversations, or, dive into whatever the thing is. But there's this certain time, right? The best, and I think that's great, because then its expectations are, okay, this is the day we're talking about this. I need to think about whatever, she's already thought everything about it. So it's literally just the guy that has to figure it out. But then that sets a tone for that time that you're together, right? This is what we're going to do. I don't think we did that
Let
necessarily.
me ask you this with something like that, because I feel that typically for a woman, that's a relief. And for a man that is like, I'm dreading this time on the calendar, you know, so often we see that those conversations happening side by side work a lot better than across the table. Do you think even if somebody is, you know, having an element of or a lack of success when they're having these weekly check-ins, like let's say one's going in and they're, you know, ready to go and the other one is clearly not participatory and or moving towards resolution, would it be better to schedule even like a weekly walk?
I didn't say how it had to be scheduled.
No, I know you didn't. I'm just,
you can go on a walk.
In
and talk
my
to each
mind,
other.
when you're saying weekly check-in, it's two people like
You're thinking of like a business
meeting at a table.
No, I don't really care how they meet.
Yeah.
I think it's just healthy to do that. If they want to go on a walk, go on a walk. You know, whatever. Just as long as that communication happens. The probably the most meaningful conversations I've had, not just with you, but just across the board, have been organic.
Right.
They have not been anything that's been scheduled. They have not, and I'm not going against what I just said, because if you're in crisis, there's times where you're going to have to sit down and we need to talk about this or walk and we need to talk about whatever it is, but we need to talk this through.
Yeah.
100%. But I'm saying the most meaningful, deep conversations that, you know, you walk away and it's still, you know, it's still sitting with you and you're thinking it over, and it could even change your perspectives.
Right.
It could change the way you do certain things. It can change the trajectory of your life, you know, and it's crazy to think that, but those conversations I've had that have done things like that have been purely organic in the sense of there was no plan to go deep like that.
Yeah.
There was no plan. There was nothing. It was just, we're going to go do this activity. We're going to go hang out here. We're going to go to our friend's house in the backyard, whatever it was. But during those times of lighthearted conversation or shallow communication, however you want to say it, but during those times of just talking, just, you know,
I agree with
how's
you.
your day? This is what happened. And, you know, oh, this funny story, or I saw this funny thing, and, you know, just these things. And then all of a sudden it starts, because that communications, the doors are open now for communicating.
And you let down your defenses.
Yeah.
Your
And then
guardrails.
somebody or your spouse is, you know, just brings something up. And it's not, so what I will say is you could treat this as an ambush, because that other spouse, again, more than likely is the woman has been wanting to fire this topic off for, you know, a few days. And now she's like, oh, we're talking. Let me throw this in there right now. And I feel that would be, you could read that where it would be like, oh, okay, here we go. Like we were having a great time and now you had to bring this up. The conversations that I'm talking about that I've had, it's just been, you know, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think about, you know, these things that just kind of naturally come up, and all of a sudden the conversation goes from, you know, oh, that was a funny reel or whatever, to, you know, how do you feel about this? And then it's opening somebody up, and then you start, and then once that happens, then you have these deep conversations that go on, and then these questions can be asked. And I would even say in these kind of conversations that you have, the biggest thing to do is ask questions.
I was
It's
literally going to
just-
say the same thing, because I think what you're talking about, right? If someone goes into a conversation and it's lighthearted, and then they're seeing like, oh, this person seems to be receptive to having a conversation right now. Like, that's good. Now, maybe this is the time where I could bring up all the serious things that I've been wanting to bring up, you know, and the other person then shuts down. Where if you would just approach it in that inquisitive mind and with curiosity, I think a lot of times then we end up removing barriers instead of placing them. And then you don't have a spouse who instantly regards any communication or conversation as an attack point. And
I mean, the way you brought that up before you started saying all the good things, I was already like, oh, that is That's exactly what I was talking about. I was like, all right, here's my chance.
Yeah.
Now I can drop all the serious things on him and we could figure this stuff out.
Right.
And it doesn't work.
No, it ends up shutting it down. And then, of course, what happens is it's harder for a couple then to enter into that lighthearted conversation and it go anywhere because
the night's ruined.
Yeah, because now you're scared of having that even lighthearted conversation, right? And then all of a sudden it's like nobody wants to talk about anything.
There is a very, very, very short list, but there is a list for me where I'm like, I do not want to have a conversation with that person. That is a short list.
Is it?
Very short, yes. But in this sense, because it's just, I'm just waiting the whole time, waiting for, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Like this is.
And sadly, that usually does play out that way. I mean, and that's the thing. Like if you have that in your head about someone, and it's really hard when you have that in your head about your spouse.
It's hard to do anything else. Like I'm waiting for, what I was just talking about. I'm waiting for the bomb.
Yeah, the other shoe to drop, right?
I'm just waiting for it.
Guess we're having a good time, but it won't last for long.
Having a good time, but I know I've done something, so here it comes. I'm sure it's, and then you can't relax. And so then you're always on this edge. So you put it in this marriage context with your spouse. Man, I could not imagine. I think there was a time where it was like that a little bit for us,
for sure,
at the very beginning of reconciling. But I couldn't imagine just a day in, day out life like that. It's draining. It's this heaviness on my brain hurts. My brain hurts right now thinking about that, and I'm not even in it, right? But you're just like, I don't want to have a conversation with you. I don't want you to bring anything up, so I'm just going to stay quiet.
Yeah, and this is not saying like we're never going to be ones who tell you like, oh, just avoid every hard conversation.
No.
It's just that you have to have a balance in your life, right? If you're recognizing that every conversation that you have with your spouse has a weight to it that for both of you just feels overwhelming, right? One person feeling like we never get anywhere, and so I have to keep bringing this up over and over and over, and the other person's like, this is being brought up over and over and over again, and we're not getting anywhere, and no one wants to talk at all now because everyone is just in that cycle.
I think there's a time where you can ignore the elephant in the room.
Okay. I agree with you, but I also just laugh at your wording about this stuff.
I think there's a time where you just have to.
We're going to choose to make this a good
night. We know the elephant's right there. Mm-hmm. I'm ignoring them. Like, I just want to have a lighthearted night.
A lighthearted night. I mean, our son will tell you that the elephant is actually silent. Like
I've never heard, I don't know what you're talking about.
Because he was actually in a village where the elephants came through and you couldn't hear them. And you couldn't see them because it was dark, but
okay, what is that? I don't.
Because you said we're going to ignore the elephant in the room. I'm like, well, apparently they're silent, and also you can't even see them in the dark, so it would be easy to ignore them.
Oh, see, I had no idea where you were going with that.
Yeah, that's why I brought you around full circle.
But speaking of that, son, he'll bring up these deep questions in the most random times.
What was the worst part of your childhood?
Yes.
Like what?
We don't do those things. Like we could be having just a normal day. We would always be having a normal day. And all of a sudden it was like this. Yeah. What was the worst part of your childhood?
An actual question that was asked randomly.
I'm like, I have no idea.
And so they were like, that's not a great question. It's like, well, then what's the best part of your childhood? I don't know. What made you laugh? What made you laugh the most as a child?
Yeah. And this wasn't 6-year-old boy. This was like more grown boy. But it was just crazy. You don't want to, when you're reconciling, everything's hard. And I think the biggest takeaway with this is you need to have laughter. You have to have this laughter in there.
It's healing.
You have to, it's kind of, I saw this just recently and I loved it. I don't know where I saw it, but the context was what I do for a living, as the picture that I saw, right? But it said, don't take yourself so seriously. Take the job serious. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, that encompassed the best teams that I've ever been on. It encompassed that in that one phrase. Mm. There was, if you were an outsider looking in, you would have thought we were a bunch of 12-year-olds. Mm-hmm. We never took ourselves so serious. We didn't do those things. But man, work was serious business, and it always is. Like this is a definite, like you have to be locked in, right? This is serious business. But we never took ourselves so serious that you can't do anything.
Well, and I think that translates into marriage for sure.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Like you're starting to reconcile, man.
It's serious business.
It's very serious business. Your marriage, very serious business. Like those are things that they're 100% serious. They need to be held to a standard. Right? They need to be protected, all these things. But if you take yourself too serious, I would argue it's not going to work. I think, I can laugh at myself very quickly. I don't take myself so seriously that I can't interact with you, that I can't have, just normal conversations, that I have to always be focused. I think that's where, Chris and Jamie are getting with this is you can be work too hard for your marriage, and it ends up being paralyzed in the place where it's at, because you're just it's too much. And then what ends up happening there is you fatigue out. You 100% fatigue out. You will back off. One of you's probably already backed off because you just can't take it anymore. But you'll both back off, and then you'll start drifting again, and then there goes the chasm.
And then I feel like
everything happen
leads to that, just the behavior modification, like the checking the boxes, much more so than the transformation, because transformation is like deep work, right? That it is those small steps that become actually part of who you are. Where if you have, like you mentioned with your scenario, it's like somebody tells you, here's 20 things, and you're trying to attempt to work on 20 things at once. You're just checking some boxes to try to make it all work, but there's nothing that sinks deep enough to become a part of who you are and how you represent yourself in your marriage. It's just, you have to let it sit.
I mean, I think that where everyone can sit and really think about this is look at whatever goal or thing you've wanted forever or wanted to do, or hopefully people can think like this, like what is something that you've wanted to challenge yourself on, right? Maybe, which I wanted to do this for like 2 days and then I was done. I didn't want to do anymore, but just think like a marathon. Like I want to run a marathon, right? But you're not a runner. So, I mean, you can literally look up online.
2 days.
Yeah. I thought about it for a little while. I'm like, I don't really want to run that far. I don't like,
I just want to run that mile and a half.
There's a lot of other things that I've tested myself on that I feel like I don't really need to do a marathon. I'm fine. But there's plenty of places where you can look up and it says like couch to marathon.
Right.
Because they're going after people that I've never done this before. And all of a sudden I want to do it. Well, if you look at any of those things, the work you're putting in is consistent, smart goals in the sense of like, small, measurable, attainable,
time sensitive.
I can't think of what the R was, but
realistic.
Those are all the goals you're setting, because you can't go from the couch to a marathon. Like I'm not going to go run a marathon.
You can't sign up for one tomorrow.
I could probably get through, but it's going to, like, I'm going to cross the finish line at night.
I would not get through.
I'd literally be at night. Like the race would be over, and I would probably still be going. That's fine. Just leave. I don't want anyone to see me wherever I end up. Just leave me alone. But you're not going to be able to do it. It's going to be this horrible thing. It's the same thing with marriage. I have to, if I want to do this, it's a challenge that I want. I want my marriage to work. I want to have a marriage that I've dreamt about, or whatever you're saying in your head. I would caution you, don't ever say like, I want the marriage I had, because there's something that you had that wasn't, you know, I don't want to go back. I didn't want to go back to our marriage that we had before.
Yeah.
Was there anything wrong with it? Not necessarily, but then we look back now, and we're like, well, man, we didn't prioritize our marriage at all. Really. We just kind of we're doing the marriage things. You know, it was nothing, there was no direct focus, I guess. Right. You know, it was just,
it was an assumption that everything would always be fine.
Be fine. Yeah. So I don't want that marriage again. I wanted something better. I wanted something that God had for us. And that's what your goal should be. So then how do I get there? Well, I am going to work hard. And at the beginning, it's going to be a lot harder, right? There's going to be a lot more pain. There's going to be a lot more fatigue. There's going to be a lot more things that happen, but I can't sustain that same pace the whole time.
Yeah. There's that's just like, if you go back to the marathon idea, you can't run 3 marathons. I mean, I think there probably has been a few people who have done it. That do that. Yeah. But the average person, you run the marathon, then you take a break, right? You don't usually just go from one marathon and then the next day run another marathon and the next day.
But it's the whole marathon. Like pushing yourself. So if you want to, you know, you start working out, everyone that's listening to this is probably exactly happened to them. Okay, I want to start working out. Right. So then they go day one. Day one, they start working out. And if you were an outsider looking in, you're like, man, this is your day one? You're going to be hurting tomorrow.
Yeah, because you go there and you're like, max weight, do all the things.
Right? I'm on the elliptical, I'm on the treadmill, I'm over here doing jumping jacks, I'm doing burpees over here, I'm lifting this weight, so I'm throwing all this in. You're like, this is a madman.
And you can't pee the next couple of days.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I've never had that happen to me.
Well, I just mean struggling to sit.
Okay. Well, I don't sit.
Yes.
Pee, so
okay. Well, whatever you
That's why I was like, I don't understand. Why can't you pee? What else did you do? You brought it up. But, you know, you're going at it so hard that you're just going to fizzle out and you're never.
Yeah, I'm hurting so badly that I do not want to walk back in that gym.
Go back. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reality is like you actually, the best thing you can do for your body is to go back in the pain, right? Is to go again.
But not that hard.
But the reality is we don't.
Well, you can't go back that hard.
No.
Like if you went all that in the first day, you're going to be sore no matter what. But if you went all that first day and you go the second day and do the same thing, third day, there's going to be a day where you're not going to go back. You're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And then you're done. And then you're just going to sit there. And it is the same with working on your marriage. When we started working on it, yes, we were focused. We're still all in on our marriage. We were super focused on working through it, but I couldn't do everything in one day. So the conversations, they would build, they would ebb, they would flow. There's some days we didn't have the conversation. Some days we had super heavy conversations. Yeah. But if we had it all up front and just...
It would have been too much.
It would have been way too much.
And I mean, we have had some conversations just on the podcast that we have never had before.
Yeah.
Regarding, you know, situations of our own crisis and recovery and all those things, and or just about other things that have come out even organically on the podcast that we typically haven't had. And I find that to be kind of a beautiful thing that you can keep having those conversations and go to a greater depth really through the continued growth that you do experience in your marriage, right? Now we can have conversations that we couldn't have had in the distinct moment of crisis because we've created a level of trust and safety with each other that now makes those conversations not what they once were. It would have been conversations that would have kept us both in really bad headspaces for a while. And now we can have them. Now we can share our story, right? And we don't cry.
No.
You know, at least typically we don't, because it's been enough time that we've been able to recognize like what God has done in our story. And it makes it where we can see it from a different perspective. And I just think that's such a healthy thing to remember. A lot of people listen to the way that you and I talk to each other and they think that after, you know, they've just experienced some level of something in their marriage that they're going to be able to have a conversation like you and I are about it. Mm-mm. And that wasn't the case for us. No. It was years of healing and years of doing the work and the small steps.
You made such a good point though, because I've never gotten on anything we've recorded and been like, this is going to be the thing heavy, I'm quoted on forever. And this is, here we go. Like we're going to get deep. We've had deep conversations and deep topics, of course, but I've never come to the table with this trying to be so profound and deep and all those things. And so that's what I'm talking about when I was talking about these organic conversations that have turned my life into different, I've gone down different roads and made different decisions and see life in a different way, see different things and different perspectives because of just organic conversation that has gone deep.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where it is, especially in marriage. Mm-hmm. I can't come home every day and expect to have these profound moments in our marriage. There's sometimes where there's nothing profound about it. But that's beautiful. That there's just this beautiful marriage that we're both working at, we're both communicating, but sometimes it's just laughing and sometimes it's quiet.
Sometimes, we're both just really tired
and
worn out.
Okay. And it's okay to be quiet and just to sit there. I was looking at something. I was seeing, how we figured out like what kind of vert I am. I'm not introvert. I'm not.
Yes.
And I was seeing more about it. And one of the things that it brought up was that you're comfortable and quiet. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, 100%. I can be in a car full of people and I'm driving. And if no one talks to me, I'm fine. It's not that I don't think that people don't like me. I don't think that, what's that person thinking of me? I'm not talking to them. It's fine. I don't know. You bring something up, I'll talk, but I'm totally fine with that. And I think that there's times in the marriage that's going to happen. We've been on dates where the conversation's been super, super lighthearted or however, like very, very,
your facial
not really there. Right. It's just because we've both had a long week. We make sure that we go on a date together, but we both have this long week and we're just kind of like enjoying our time together. There doesn't need to be
the shared
this
experience,
huge conversation and these things. It's just, man, I'm relaxed. I'm with my favorite person. This is okay.
Yeah.
And those things. And during those times, you might have this deep conversation, these deep things that happen or these questions that come up that you can talk about, and it's more open and there's no guard up and there's no expectation of we're going to solve this thing right now.
Yeah.
This is just, I just need to talk about it.
You can just have some joy with each other. Like you said, just going in and like being with someone. And that is such, like the research shows, right? What helps create connection is like the shared experiences that you guys have. And so it's continually showing up, right? It's continually deciding that, hey, we're going to make an effort here. And it doesn't have to be always this intense, serious effort. It can just be just the simple element of we're going to show up for each other and over and over and over again. And that actually helps build that enough of that safety where you can have some of those deeper conversations, which takes time to develop. But I think the big thing is just remembering that you guys do need those small wins, the laughter. Those help you to facilitate the deeper conversations that you want to have, right? That you need in order to grow in your marriage, but allowing it to be where it balances the heaviness. And I think that is so important for actual transformation to take place in your marriage, is that you balance it out and you both can come out with a healthier perspective on those times you do have together versus everyone coming home disappointed and frustrated. So challenge for the week. What do you have?
I don't.
I would say our challenge for the week would be that you do make an effort to spend some some time with your spouse, whether it's on a date or just, 30 minutes where you just are trying to connect, but make it intentionally lighthearted. And just let it be. Like, don't allow it to be the, okay, well, if it is lighthearted, then I'll bring up the serious thing, but just to find some simple joys together, and celebrate the little wins along the way. That'd be my advice. Okay, we'll see you next week.